My name is Manika Sharma, and I am the director for the Shri schools in Delhi, Gurgaon. And I have been with the school for 30 years now. So it's been a long innings, so one has seen the changes in the educational space. Quick introductions by my colleagues. Would you like to just introduce yourselves?
Yeah, I'm Meera Isaacs. I'm the Dean of the Cathedral and Connon School, and
She's been there longer.
totally fossilized, 42 years in the school. All right.
So don't go by their humble words. We all know nowadays to get a principal to stay with the school for more than 2 years. I am working in a school, but I think I consider them as founder principals. You know, they have the passion. And I think I'm a very humble person because I've started a school for 10 years, but I have so much to learn and every day is a new experience. I think it's an honor to sit in their presence and talk to you guys. It's just amazing. Please don't say you guys are amazing, legends.
Thank you. That's very humbling indeed. Okay, so let me start. I'll tell you a little story. So first of all, how many of you are coming from schools that already have a career counseling cell, a center? Not one career counselor, but if you have a center. Anyone here? You have a center. How many people are there? And what's the school size? Just to be able, for us to be able to pitch right, so that we don't do talk of things that are repetitive for you, so that we can maximize this session. Okay.
So each branch has this, although it is centralized, but each branch has at least 2 counselors that are available there full time.
Okay.
And we start counseling right from class 9
okay. to 12. Okay, interesting. Okay. So it was about 7. So I'll tell you my story and then I'll invite Mrs. Isaacs and then, of course, Shalini to come and speak. So about 7 years back, we at the Shri School realized that we have to move with the times. And you know, it's a very heterogeneous group of children who come to us from very different families, very different backgrounds. And considering the kind of competitive world that the children have to face once they leave the portals of the school, it's equally challenging for both teachers, parents, and the students. So we thought, we've always had a career counselor, every school has that, and we thought it was time that we are able to, as a sensitive school, that we are and we should be able to reach out to every family, every child, and set up a larger body of counselors, and we call it the Career Counseling Center, the Career Counseling Cell, so that every child and every parent in our school has access to a counselor. Having said that, every school must have a vision, right? Because setting up a career counseling cell is not easy. We're talking about budgets this afternoon, right? It is not easy, and schools run on tight budgets. But if you have a vision where you say that it matters for us as management and as educators to be able to provide to our parents and children this facility, then if you're convinced, you can convince everyone else, right? And that's where I started this whole journey, where we felt that, and the management was very supportive of the idea. So there are, I mean, tell me if I'm wrong, but there are career counselors who charge something like 8,000 for a half-an-hour call. Are you aware? 8,000 for a half-an-hour phone call with your child. Okay. There are career counselors who charge up to 3 lakhs, right, for a 3-hour session or a 2-hour session for one meeting. And people travel all over to the metropolitan cities to meet these people. They're all over, they're dotted all over the major cities. So for us, like I said, it was important to set up this center, and that's how the recruitment started. Today, I have a very large team of 9 career counselors. We are split across 2 campuses within 5 kilometers of each other. It is headed by 1 career counselor, 1 lady, and there are the 3 here and 4 here depending on the student strength. One campus has slightly larger number of students, so that school has 4 and the other school has 3. And the head of career counseling cell moves between the 2 campuses. Ever since we started this, so what are the challenges that we faced? First was, like I said, alignment of vision, that this is what we need to do. So number 2, Who pays for the recruitment of the career counselors? They're not teachers. They don't do any teaching. But they definitely have time to interact and interface with all the students of the senior school, class 9 onwards. But they don't teach. So how do they interact? So they create opportunities to attend sessions. They accompany school children on trips. They make sure that they're given duties during school performances, annual functions, annual days, because that's the best time, sports days in schools, because that's the best time that you can actually get to know the students well in class and outside of class. Because finally, what's the role of the career counselor? He or she has to be tracking student growth, development, interests, and all of that to be able to document that journey for that child. Honestly, we're all representing schools. When this idea was floated, I spoke to we work very closely with our parents. It is a school that partners with parents to take every decision. So when I met the Parent-Teacher Association of the school, I shared the idea with them to say that, look, you're welcome to go to any career counselor outside of school, and you can pay for that. But as a school, we'd like to provide for this facility for both national and international placements. So how do we do that? We couldn't raise the fee for every child in school. You can't do that. So we took the buy-in of our Parent-Teacher Association, and for classes 9 and 10, we raised the annual fee over and above by 4,000 rupees only, right? And for classes 11 and 12, we raised the fee by 8,000 per child, because obviously that's when they need it more. Having said that, that helped us a lot, because suddenly for every child there was a fee coming in, and we were able to balance. It was never, the aim of setting up a center, please understand everyone, is never for profiteering. It cannot be. It's for reaching out to every child. It cannot be a profit center, because counselors don't come cheap. And after that, the resources that you need for the counseling cell are even more expensive. What is the role of the counselor? As a school, you would be able to, first is your vision, then you'll have to conceptualize the role of a counselor. Academic counseling for students, so that includes subject choices all the way after class 8. Curriculum choices, now most schools have IGCSE, the Cambridge program, we have CBSE, we have the ICSE, we have MYP. There's a bouquet of choices, poor children, right? And poor parents, you know. So we have the bouquet of choices, and they need to exercise that choice rather early in their lives. At the age of 14, they need to know what they want to do. The role of the counselor, the person who you recruit, has to be able to provide information regarding changing trends and requirements for both students and parents. Aspirations are changing, university needs are changing, the requirements are changing, so we need to be able to provide that advice to our children. They need to be able to collaborate with faculty and administration, serving as resource people, and that's the toughest. I was just talking to my colleagues here, and I said, you know, for a school, it's always a battle between the principal, the HODs, and the career counseling team. Because they have a course to complete. The principal, poor thing, is right in the center, you know, and she or he is being tugged at both sides, because there is only that much time. And if we don't give time to the career counselors in our school to be able to guide the children or spend time with the children in their classrooms or to do sessions with the children, then how do they get to know them, right? So what we do is we slice the school into 2 or 3, as the case may be, and we take the same children with the same career counselor all the way from class 9, right? So there's no changing tracks. So this individual has seen this child, this student, all the way from class 9 till the child graduates. So for 4 years, for that 4-year journey, it's wonderful, because then they're able to document and report back on the child. The career counselor also is responsible for updating information regarding career planning trends relevant to students' interests and aspirations. So we have a very robust, and I take pride that the Shri School has a very robust communication, you know, with parents and students, right? Almost on a weekly basis. On a weekly basis, there is a letter that goes out from the career counseling desk to every parent grade 9 to grade 12. Even if it's a letter going out to grade 11, we make sure we send it out to grade 9 because the parent needs to see how that matures and how they take that forward. The accountability to the school head is huge for that individual. Okay, a little bit more and then over to Mrs. Isaacs. So you have to look at how it's feasible for you administratively and logistically. You have to be able to cater all the needs, like I said. Right fit, mix of resources, you need everything. So it's huge investment when you start something like that. You know, we also identified a very student-friendly space in school. So we had to break down some walls and put really happy-looking chairs and little couch here and some colorful cushions and lots of reading material up on the walls, so where the students and give them access to laptops and technology, so that besides the career counselors who dot that space, we also had students coming forward and just lounging there and having informal discussions with their counselors. If you're going to put it in a staff room or in a desk far away, it's not going to help. It's not going to have any footfall. So it was really important to make sure that in your school, that the placement or the spaces that you provide, that you as heads of institutions or promoters of schools, give it the due that it deserves. So it has to be right there. And it's nice for the parents to be able to walk into a space which is dotted with senior students and the career counselors alike. The toughest challenge is the school calendar, because things get missed. Holidays declared. I come from Delhi and it's constantly closed for pollution and so many other things, right? May not be applicable to very small towns, but Delhi we have a problem. Come October, a week school is closed. So where do you find that space in the calendar? So the calendar management has to be really tight. And in my school, between the vice principal and the career counseling head, they manage the calendar. And they have to manage the calendar. It's a no-brainer. It's non-negotiable. Support from the leadership and peers. Again, critical. Very recently, and then I'll step down here. Very recently, so some of the challenges that you'll face probably is that a physics teacher may not have the best language to be able to put together LOR for a child, but the physics teacher needs to write that, right? So we've created a little group of Department of English. And again, we've said that, look, we need to support every child who's in our care. It is our responsibility. So the team of teachers sit together. So whilst the physics or the chemistry teacher may have absolutely fabulous subject knowledge and subject content, but they may not be able to articulate what he or she wants to say for her child. So then the team comes together to make sure that they assist each other, the career counseling cell, the team of teachers from the department, and maybe the class teacher who's a physics teacher. And that works really well. So it's truly collaborative in spirit. I'll step off and happy to answer any questions once everyone else is done. Yeah, thank you.
Hello, good afternoon. Well, a lot of what Manika has said is, I suppose, applicable to all of us. And now we will go, I think we need to now work for the needs, to identify the needs of the children. First of all, the questions are, do you think an aptitude test is required for subject choices? We talk about psychometric assessments. Frankly, in our school, we offer them only to children who think that they need it, or we direct them to the correct platform for that. Our children come in at the age of 3 to us, and then they go all the way up to standard 12. So we have a pretty good idea of where the children stand for all these. What are their interests? What are their strengths? Where do we need to help them? So, and there is a file that is maintained on each child. So we have a pretty good idea of how the child has progressed through the years. And then of course, the career counseling per se is really for the senior school onwards. But I'm sure all of us have it. There is a lot of underpinning that goes on. because every teacher is given a basic idea of what this is all about. Also, because we have counselors in every single section of the school, beginning from the primary all the way up to the senior. So they are the ones who really know the children as well as the class teachers, so that there is this constant, there is a huge knowledge base about each child, which helps very much in us understanding what the child needs, what the child, and what is the difference between what the child's wants are and what the child's needs are and what the child can really do. So that's the way we progress. Yes, we do have a center, but the center is not as elaborate as what Manika said. We have 2 career counselors in the center itself with a personal assistant to help her because of the transcripts and all the sort of thing that has to be done. Also, then the other thing is, are the students applying to different countries? Yes, many of the students are applying to different countries. America, the US is the main one that they want to go to because they think that that's where they're going to get the most bang for their buck or whatever. And now I notice that again, England, the UK is also becoming popular. Canada, after Mr. Trump has, read out the riot act to so many of us, Canada is opening up their colleges to Indian children, and more children are accepting it. They want to go to Canada. Australia, not so many. Hong Kong and Singapore. Singapore, yes, very much so. They do want to go there for management. So these are the areas that we notice that the children want to go. So what is it? Is it the international one or was it the domestic one? So both these go hand in hand. Some children may not want to go abroad, which is perfectly acceptable. I know that many people think that they need to go abroad. In a city like, how many of you are from Mumbai itself? All right. Now you notice in Mumbai this terrible rush to go for Ivy Leagues. It's quite crazy, really, and there's really no need for it, but that's the way it is. This college search is also very important. Then the applications management also depends upon the record, the system. Do you need an application management portal, the resource, the number, the strength? It's also very closely linked to the needs and hence planning for resources. Now, let me go on to some of the, all right, then we come on to some of the application management portals. Include Cialfo, which is a Singapore-based one, BridgeU, which is a very easy alignment with ManageBack. Then there's Maya Learning. There are a number of ones that are coming into the market, which we find fulfills the needs of the students. Though at the moment, Naviance, which we were using, seems to have pulled out of the market. Also, the college counselor does need to have an awareness of the subjects and the career path. Now, if you look at what we, as our curricula, what we are teaching our children, and you see what the job opportunities or what they want for jobs outside, you will notice that there seems to be a mismatch of some kind, all right? And what our children are being prepared for may not quite match what they want, really, or what the world wants. There is a disconnect over there. So that is another bridge that one has to facilitate the children to go over. And one very, very important resource that we have is we have a lot of our parents themselves who have been abroad, who have studied in foreign universities, and who are a wonderful link. They come back, very often they are the ones who are taking children they are on the admissions committee. So we do see that there is a huge, that there's a lot that we can get from them. Another very important point is when admissions counselors from outside come to the school themselves. Now, we get roughly in the region of around 200 of admissions officers coming to the school right through the year. And our career counselor has got a very good relationship. I think that's very important, to build up relationships with all these people, so that there's a compatibility, there's an easiness in the way you can talk and explain certain things, and for them to understand where our Indian system comes from, right? Uh, and then, of course, the study choice destinations will decide how long the child has to go for, or what the child can really do. Um, Now, the various resources that I can talk to you about are the webinars, there are very books, web links, there are career fairs, there are college fairs that happen on a regular basis, there are workshops both for parents and for students, and panel discussions which are run by either by parents or by alumni. Now, all these things are very, very important, because the career of a child, I know definitely when I was growing up, there was nothing like this. I don't know when you were growing up whether it was there, but nowadays it is all so oriented towards their um, what they have to get from college, what is the learning that takes place, and what are they going to do finally. And you will notice, especially in big cities, I suppose in Delhi it's the same as in Bombay, in Mumbai, that most people want to go in for stuff like making a lot of money, right? Not a bad idea at all, but then there's so much more to all this, and this is where we need to handhold our children sometimes and tell them that there is so much more that you can see, well beyond just going off onto Wall Street or something of that nature. All right. One person in our main career counselor is, I think, the backbone of this entire uh, aspect of the school, and we have an extremely good career counselor who is very, very well versed. She's been she's done this Jiva certification. She's been at the Institute of Higher Education, College Board Summer Institute, and Harvard Summer Institute. So she continuously upgrades herself. Now that is very important also. You don't really need to go abroad for anything. It's all online if you like. There are so many ways in which you can upgrade yourself in order to be ready to help your children. What is the next thing that we have? All right. The resources are estimating the costs for each category. Yeah. All right. I'll just quickly go through this, estimating the cost for each category. I can only tell you what we do in our school. The major expenses, I've broken it up into these heads. We have staff costs, which come to roughly 42 lakhs for the year. Then there are workshops and training, which comes to another 8 lakhs for the year. Then there are career fair expenses, because we call people in. We have these huge fairs where our children can have a good overview of whatever is available. That's another 2 lakhs. And the miscellaneous things that we need is another one. Fortunately, just as Manika said, we are very fortunate to have the kind of board that is more than willing to accept what needs to be done. They're very keen on doing all these things. And therefore, budgeting per se does not pose a problem. But yes, always in a school, there is a budgeting constraint, as we know. But they are generous in the way they approach this, and so we are quite okay. Is there anything else you want to say, or will you take over now? Yeah.
I come from a very fairly new school because it started 10 years ago. Our first batch has just passed out of Manthan in this last year, and we went through the whole journey of setting up a career counseling setup. And then, first of all, after doing that, we started looking for career counselors, really. And then we were looking at the salaries, because we wanted an individual who can set up the center, not somebody who's just come, because we were like novices. We didn't have anything. Now, when you go out and look for individuals who have the capability of understanding, has an experience to set it up in the school, we realized that this is something which is going to be costed. It's a cost factor for us, and we need to involve. And first of all, for me, with investors, because I'm one of the co-founders, I have a couple of investors whom I have to report to every penny we spend in the school. For them to accept career counseling as a key function, as both of them have emphasized on, is that why is it is a key function? Why is it that the school has to spend on it? How does it affect our school's, growth? How are we going to get return on investment? But they said it's not like, it's something else altogether, because after students being in K-12 schools, what is the path you're giving them after 12th grade? It has a more empathy, social, there's much, much more than collecting, looking at it as a revenue factor. It's more than that, what ma'am has reiterated. So for us, budgeting is very, very systematic because our revenue is not that much. And I don't know whether you know or not, in Telangana, we have a lot of restrictions in fee collections now. I can't increase the fees without a lot of approvals going through. So for us, it was limited fees, limited collection, and what is it that we make out of it. So budget, typically what both have suggested is that we collect it as fixed cost. What are the fixed costs for the center? So for example, I'll tell you the simple discussion, like we allocated a room space, I had to take out a classroom, and then the first discussion, I said, okay, we'll allocate a nice classroom with a counselor's office. The first calculation I got was, you know what, the classroom has, and this is from the investor point of view, we have 25 students, each student pays 2 lakhs, that's the annual fees of this much. Do you want to give me that space up for setting up counseling counter? I'm like, center, that's a very logical investor argument, you see that, and then I was zapped. I never thought from that point of view, we are more academicians are very passionate. We don't look at that. And then suddenly I realized, take a step back. Now I need to budget, which makes the school investment and the board to accept what we are trying and how important it is. So we sat together and we made a budget. Like, what is the fixed cost, which is your space? Please look at when you're going through, I think, how many of your new schools here? Quite a few schools. If you want a relevant center set up, and if school administration is not supporting, please go with the numbers. Everybody understands number. You're asking them to give up the space, salary, panels. You're asking them to spend. Have an estimate very clearly laid out. This is the space, yes. How is it going to give returns to? We don't look at education, but from sometimes with investors, I say, good return on investment, you're going to get more admissions. Your students get placed in the colleges of their choice, looking at the careers they want, they're going to talk good things about school. Word of mouth, you're going to get good students joining your school. Hence, there is return on investment. So I had to pull that, strategy to get them to admit into setting up college and career center, and it worked for me. You can try different things in that part of it. The second thing is running costs, which are like career panels, setting up webinars, or opening up the spaces, inviting the guest lecture, talk. Sometimes we have to book flights, provide at least space for hotel costs or things like that. Because when you're a new school, not many college counselors know us, or they don't know what it is, where to come from. We have to request other schools, and ICT conference is a good platform, and sometimes we have to encourage people coming from different places to speak to our children. So that's some cost we have. So we budgeted, okay, these are the so many guest speakers whom we will pay to invite. This is our budget. The rest is we exploit our parent community, wonderful parent community starting from kindergarten to 12th. They all come to do a lot of panels for us, for students. We kind of sent out mails saying that we want to have a science panel, humanities panel, art and design panels, research panels. So they've put all their names and we distributed them to different panels, and we, in the curriculum, the calendar curriculum we make, we put those panels so that this fight between, I'm the fight between the counselor and the head of the departments and everybody else. So how can you say that you expect us to get results, HODs? A levels, you expect 3 A stars to get into that, or 2 A's into that college, and you're telling me you will give that time to this career counseling sessions and training. So this is something very difficult, but this has worked. Panels, we do it on Saturdays, afternoons, where parents are willing to give. We have a nice tea and cookies. Very nice masala tea, our cook makes very nice masala tea, and they come down and they have an interesting session under the tamarind tree. Not much of cost, but I come from a business background, so I'm very good at selling. So I convert it, you had to hire an auditorium, you have to do this, they buy it. So it works out. Budgeting is very important. I always tell schools, counselors who come, I said, be prepared for everything. If you believe in setting up these centers, you need to fight for it because your job is very crucial. You need to believe in, and you have to get everybody else believing. Even after, I'm sure ma'am and all tell, they still have not many school staff buying into it because they ask, what is their role better than my role? So please take into that consideration very, very strongly. Money needs to be planned where the purses are small. Okay, so monthly wise, and also the future plan. Like this year I have one counselor, next year I'm planning to get another counselor in. Already that budget has been pushed. I'm not waiting till March to start the discussion. I've already started the discussion right now. Like next year my student strength is going to go up. I need a counselor of this kind of qualification, might not be that senior, but this is my salary grade, this is what is going to happen. They are pretty, well, I didn't give them a surprise, I did it beforehand. So it's better to do that way, have it in place. This is very interesting. I think ma'am has put it very nicely. Should you be able to choose or get it customized? This is something I would request both of you to comment upon.
I'll use this only. So as school management, you need to be able to brainstorm about this and see what works for you. Since we are talking budget and the discussion around this afternoon is only about budgeting for a career counseling center, this will be directly impact the costs, right? So that is something, that's the choice of the school management to see what's the kind of investment and what is the return. Since Shalini mentioned the kind of expenditure that's happening at her school, I will just open out the picture. I actually took a picture from the accounts. For me, at the Shri school, the kind of expenditure that we incur, and this is interesting for you to know and probably make a note, is like we have little 96 lakhs, about a crore goes into salaries of the center annually. Okay. Training is exact figures I'm giving you. 3.78 lakhs on training. If you don't send your counselors for training, and hence I'm mentioning customized or what, because you need to decide. If you don't send your counselors for training, today we are 7 people from my school who are attending this conference. Because all said and done, when I go back as school director, I'm not going to have time to be able to revisit all that I've learned here. It's impossible. It's a waste. But what I do have time at the conference is to network with people and get an understanding of what is it that you're doing, how can we partner, how can we collaborate, what can we learn from you. That's my job, right? We're 7 of us. We chose to stay in a cheaper hotel together because at night we ideate about what we've learned, but we made sure that we carried 7 people with us, right? So training. So this is a part of the training, the expenditure we incurred for this visit here. Subscriptions, 88 lakhs, 88 annually. You need to flush your place, your space, your center with as much material as is the need of the students and the team. Nothing comes for free now. Anything that you need to buy, right? Mrs. Isaacs already spoke about this, but like we do the one step up, we do right track admissions campus, we do university options, that's about 20.4 annually. Miscellaneous, we put under 4.12. This was my expenditure last year. 4 lakhs, miscellaneous. We spoke about events and career fairs, flights, tickets. You invite the best to your school. Then you invite other schools to your school. So, you just need to build that. And yeah, I've spoken about salaries. So whether you customize or whatever you choose, that's the choice that you make. It's also directly proportional to the fee structure of your school. How many children? The class size, the school size, the fee structure, everything impacts inflow, outflow. Yeah. So the last one, school budget chargeable services. It's so till now we were charging separately. From this year, we've added it to the fee bill because we made sure that the fee did not go up. The annual charges did not go up beyond 7% in the last 2-3 years, right? So we made sure that we kept that down, and I spoke with my school management and my school principals to say, let's cut costs there, let's raise this, because finally, as ma'am's also said, when you get a good career counseling center going, what are people looking for? They're looking for placements. Where are your students? So it's just a very fine balance that we need to do, and this needs planning. So we made sure that we had minimalistic cost for paper in the art room, no wastage, no wastage. We just made sure that we ran it like we would run our homes on a very shoestring tight budget. Then we made sure that we could bring the fee up, include this, bung this into the fee, and then the annual cost went up by 7. So it didn't pinch any parent. It did not pinch any parent because we just made sure that we, see, if you're a decision makers in the schools that you represent, then it's easy to do. I can speak with conviction because I was a decision maker, one of the decision makers. But if you're a school counselor, then you need to be convincing your school managements. Right. So we have a ceiling. We have a ceiling on that 15. Yeah. Yeah. We don't allow. We don't allow. We don't allow. Every student can apply to 15 universities. So that's standard. There's certain standard operating procedures and policies that guide, that are mandated. And at the start of the year in April, we start our school session in April, a handbook is given out to every child. It's personalized to every child. And that handbook has a couple of plain pages, and it has on the rules and regulations and policies and non-negotiables. Yeah. 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 And the onus is both sides. It's on the students, it's on the counselor, right? So this handbook helps because every time they have an interaction with a counselor, they have to carry the CCC handbook.
Yeah, may I just come in here a moment?
Yeah.
I agree there because we also have a handbook where everything is sorted out and everything is given and they sign that, the parents as well. But the fact is, you said 15 colleges, we say 12, all right, where the counselor will help. And the fact is some children do not want to go to these foreign universities. So that is why we added to their fee, to the children's fee, the one who wants to go abroad, because there's a huge number of things that have to go into that. So we added to them, but not to children who don't need it, all right? That's how we work. That's how we operate in. Absolutely, because going abroad is a huge, huge expense. So we don't, we added to those, but we don't make everybody pay across. Yeah, so it actually varies from institution to institution. And there was one other thing that you were talking about. Yes, but at the same time, there are the UCAS admissions now. So you really don't need the counselor to, the children just send it off by themselves. There's another thing that they're doing now for California. California doesn't want the school involved at all. So the child himself or herself gets involved. So one can't monitor that. But what the school will send is 12. Yeah?
The reason why we did not do that was because there are enough opportunities that we give to Indian universities and experiences and the experts that come into school to address the parent body. And it's easier to take informed decisions for the children then, rather than for us that in grade 9 the child says, okay, I'm going to go to Delhi University or Mumbai St. Xavier's, and by grade 11 they've changed their mind, right? So for us, it just made better sense. Then how do you keep doing this? Like, it's not a school timetable for us, it was just simpler to keep it low, but standardize it. And out of the year I started it, 7 years back, out of a body of about, how many? Out of a body of about 800-900 parents, 13 parents came to see me, 13 in a group, out of which 11 did not speak. 2 people were very vociferous, okay, to say, what are we doing? How can you do this? You should provide it to us anyway. It's a school. We pay the fee. So we said, yeah, but it's not a teaching subject. And how do we provide for all the resources? So 2 parents were very vociferous, so much so that out of those 2, 1 parent's child was graduating. So 4 years the parent did not pay. And then at the end, when the child was graduating, I had to call in the dad and say, look, you do need to clear your accounts. What was it? Nothing. 8 2s are 16 plus 8, 8 3s are 24. 24 lakhs over 4 years, 24,000 over 4 years, right? So there will be those who stick their neck out and try to influence others, but finally the parent wants to do it for their child, and they know that if they have like I said, we work with parents, if they know that the relationship is really good and you trust each other, then they don't question the school.
Something which all the Indian universities have helped us was getting their university professors directly to schools and helping us out in getting the sessions done, because we come from land of Hyderabad. Everybody is in IIT or in AIMS. So, it's very difficult for them to look, and even if the children are not interested in doing engineering or medicine, they say, you know what, let them get through JE, then if they don't want, they can change. These are A-level IBs kind of students. They are not going to sit in a tutorial for 8 hours a day without asking the question. Because from the day in kindergarten, they said, why? And the tutorials don't allow them to ask, why? After 2 months, they are out. They say, we don't want to go there. We want to go and do courses what we need, what we saw. So it is dropping in, dropping out. And young schools have so much of burden. We are all always under the pressure of, ma'am, you can handle, but I have a tough challenge where they say, when they come in groups, I usually get scared. That is one thing I say, you know what? Yeah, I'm still learning, but I do get scared when 12 people enter my office and like, why are you sending? Because we are paying you. So that paying you is a question which is very difficult in Hyderabad.
Okay, it's on. Sorry, I thought my voice was loud. Since I take classes, my voice is also very loud. So we are paying you is a common dialogue we haven't added it to the fees, but the costs are going up. We are doing our level best to provide services or help in career counseling as much as the school can. But yes, you have to put some cost and put it into your fee structures. Otherwise, school managements will not be helping you in any cost. Like if administration team is already, administrators are here, please take it into consideration. Counselors, you can take both ma'am's names and, push it through the management. Say, they have said, you better do it. It's good when you have contact to use their names. I'm going to do it. I've already decided I'm going to take their permission. If my investors come, I say, look, these are their numbers. If you want, I can request them to spend 2 minutes with you. I will not take more time. Then graded program, or it should be a mandatory or optional components. From my viewpoint, at least ma'am, I don't know, because I say graded or not graded is a big challenge. We want the children to be self-motivated because that's a skill we are sending them to universities. If I put it as a graded component, just imagine what is going to happen in universities for them. So hand-holding is something 11th and 12th. As Indian schools, we are too much into spoon feeding. Some students need that structure. A lot of students don't need that structure. My school students do not need structure. There already no structure for them. So for them, we encourage them to do it themselves, get it done, fix it, and then career counselor does it. But some days on her face, I can see the tiredness of getting these kids to do their job on time. So she also comes, can we make it graded? Because they get A stars in math. I'm sure in career planning also they get A stars because the grades resonate with our Indian mindset pretty well.
Yeah, so I can see that it's so systematic in their heads, but that's not what something we are planning to achieve. It's easy when you have a graded program to show your management how well it is working. But if it's not graded, yes, there's something because it's not visually present in front of you how career counseling center is supporting and enabling the students. Because you're CL4, I was speaking to CL4 people that you're investing a platform, you're spending money on it. If you don't have logins, by end of 6 months, you're going to get a mail from the administrative office. You have taken CL for how come there's none of your students are there, none of your teachers are there, what are you doing? So the thing is, you log in first every single day to see the other ones are logging in or not and check what is happening because every single rupee you're spending needs to do some kind of return, and these are all good platforms. They do a good amount of job. So please get them to do and use the resources which school has provided. If it is not, they're going to take it away very soon. Career counselors, please take it into consideration. Administrators, make sure that counselors do it. This both we have to do, both of us have to do, so the students get to do that part. Variation in cost for each grade linked to deliverables. Yeah. So if you want to do a little more, I think work in 9th and 10th because you don't have you're not charging extra fees or things like that. Become very creative. Like middle school and high school, we have regular career days. And we get this nice, like really interesting parents coming and talking to them about careers or bringing their whole unit of parent, like a Google office, we have Amazon and all these. They come together as a group who are doing multiple things in the same, like in product design team comes with a graphic designers. So they're very interesting mix for these children. So this works out very well in middle school and high school. It doesn't cost much. We need to be very creative with resources which can be zero cost. Yeah, I think I agree with ma'am. Charge it to the main fees. Don't charge it as a separate fees. Take it from me, there are a lot of risk constraints and legal loopholes. In that, I think, ma'am, if you want to speak to ma'am one-on-one or me, I can. But I'm not a great finance person. I have another team member who helps me with this. But we've gone through the discussions back and forth. So we are adding it to the main school tuition fees. And we've already spoken to parents for a year about it. Don't, if your area where you're coming from has stricter fees norms or things like that, and you have more challenging parents, please start the dialogue at least a year before. Ramp it up. How career counseling, we put this year, entire year, every student parent orientation, we had career counselor there talking about it continuously because it takes time for registering. And it makes more effective, like during school graduation ceremony, our celebration, our heroes or, heroines are the ones are our school counselors. We celebrate their success with huge applause, rounding applause, because students are placed already in different colleges, children talk, and then career counselors, like they walk in. Like every time you have an annual day, the art teachers, the craft teachers, the subject teachers, everybody, whoever doing bit, come onto the stage during graduation ceremony. Career counselors come into the stage. So that is one thing for us as a school to acknowledge how key this function is for the whole dimension. If somebody was saying, don't you think career counseling is a buzzword of today? And I get little upset, not little, I'm very short-tempered. Can you just imagine me going berserk? It's pretty interesting. It's not right to say that it's a buzzword. When people are doing with whole interest, I don't call it as a buzzword. I think your career, career counseling is a career. Yes, it's not a buzzword. I think stage is open for doubts or any questions you have. I think we're running.
Let me just give you one small suggestion I know a budget is always important. So, your own students who have gone out there, you call them back in because they connect with students so beautifully. So that's a wonderful thing. So you keep calling the children back They are the best ambassadors of your school. And they're the best people to tell the ones who are coming up what to expect and what to do, all that kind of stuff. So while we have parents coming in, we also have huge numbers of students coming back to talk to our children. And they've all done extremely well. So they are good role models to look up to.
Any questions for us? We have about 7 minutes to go. Yes, please.
Do you have any data to support the investment? So what has, have you had improved placements? Most of parents ask, well, this investment, so are the kids getting into better universities? Are they getting into the first choice? What's the data to support this investment?
I'm not carrying the data, but it's a very good question. And just to answer you, yes, the graph has only gone up. We share it with our parents at the annual, on the Pride Day, at the annual function, and I share it with my school management on smaller executive body meetings to see, and we show the graph, because still you don't show it as data and with the names of the students and the so yes, the Ivy League colleges have definitely gone up. For a lot of parents, they are absolutely the first choice, as a school, because honestly, at elementary level, parents speak a different language when the child is entering school, and they again speak the same language when the child is leaving school, because for them it's so important to see the child in the best university. Excellent placement, because I think it's a focused approach. It's just a focused approach. When 8 people together are going to be identifying the children, 100% you're going to see some results. Different kind of investment. It's not about money. It's for people. It's about human resource. It's not even about infrastructure, but it's about the vision that the school has. And for sure, you've seen a fabulous response. And the idea of acknowledging the counseling team is so important. On their Facebook page, the alumni is reaching out to the recent graduates. They have a desk at the graduation ceremony. My alumni executive, it's not a very old school, it's a 30-year-old school, right? So the oldest alumni is 36 years old, and the first batch that graduated was in the year 2000. So they're also early in their careers and they're busy, but we've made sure that the alumni sits there and they reach out to their batchmates, and we insist, we give them a membership of the alumni, provided they come back and tell us. So it's a challenge. We get about 70%. It's a challenge. It is a challenge, ma'am, and they only come back to you when their children are ready to come back to join the school. I can't tell you how many Facebook requests I get, and I recognize the children and I say, oh, I know why. Okay, you're 30 plus and you probably have a 3-year-old and you're coming back. They all come back to you. But it's a good question, and it's the same story. It's the same. I don't know about Mrs. Isaacs, if she has something to say for her school.
Yeah, same story. Same story, yeah. No, there's nothing wrong with you.
We have that data, but we don't have it.
Okay, this question is about student counselor ratio. What would be the student counselor ratio in each of your schools? And if you could say, what is the optimum ratio?
I can't answer that, but I can tell you what we do. So it's like a regular school timetable. Every counselor should have met the student at least 4 times in the week, each student. And beyond that, whatever time the counselors have, they also have to be doing their own work, which is interfacing with universities or setting up sessions or classroom interactions. But one-on-one, it's timetabled. So if it goes beyond that, student strength doesn't increase, right? Strength remains the same. But if we feel, and if the counselors feel that that engagement time is too little, then we hire another counselor. So it's very simple. it's need-based. So I can't tell you exactly. So like I said, we slice it from the middle and we divide the class into 3. And then they carry on with those students' class. So A to, and a lot of time parents write to us to say, I would like my child to go to so and so. Right? We say, sorry, we go alphabetically. Saurabh was with us for a year. For a year, yeah. So he knows exactly what I'm talking about. He was with Shri School and for a year. So we slice it like that, and we just take A to J and then J to whatever the alphabetically where the children fall, and then I don't know how you do it. Yeah, it would be interesting.
No, we just have the main counselor, and I know she's got a very, very tough job. There's no question about it. And but I know she just seems to love the whole thing. And very often she's staying back after school hours because parents come, children come. But we have a dedicated class for the children. We have 2 counselors, but Mrs. Shukla is the main counselor. And then, of course, so she meets every single, she doesn't have to meet from 9 and 10 because they don't want to go anywhere. It's just when they are moving into standard 12. From 11 standard, the mad rush starts, all right? So she meets every single person. She meets every single parent who wants to send their child abroad. Then we have these huge fairs and stuff like that where the parents can meet one-on-one different people. But so we just have these 2 counselors who help the children in basically the rush starts in standard 11, middle of standard 11, all right? So that's about it. Only if they want it. And we have psychometric testing in the lower classes when we find there's a problem with some children, all right? And only if we come across that. Yeah, but not otherwise, not otherwise. No, we don't do it to track their
Actually, there
interests.
are a lot of free resources. Okay. And I think we were discussing before we started, there are a lot of free psychometric, and these are shared by university delegates with us. Last previous IC3 conferences we attended, there are a lot of interesting and different features. Actually, I got an entire list based on the different categories the first time IC3 conference. Yeah, I'll do that. Yeah. Please hand me over your, this thing, because it's such an interesting, somebody has put in all the place, everything together. It's easy to share. No. No, no. Actually, never go to the, sorry, never go to the, as my view is that, never go, because as a school, we have children who have approached our centers, but the parents are very enthusiastic. They go and pay somewhere else, as ma'am has pointed. Big issue. Now, what is happening is they have given these essays to these kids, and they are A-level English as first language students. They scored A stars in IGCSE. They get really pathetic essays. First of all, if they come, and these kids are really sweet, they come and show, ma'am, is this really good? And then they sit and listen to a half-an-hour session of yelling from me. I said, you wasted my time of teaching you for 10 years, and this is the 11th year, this is what. Don't ever do that. Let the children write their own essays with their passion, what they believe in. I think both of you can, if anybody is from universities here, can say that. All they tell, again and again, I've heard from university delegates how essays and letter of recommendations have to be very authentic, written by that particular child.
Yeah, it should be authentic. It should be written by that child. But I do know that in Mumbai especially, there are a huge number of agencies that do this. I mean, to be honest, and I don't think this is a hidden, it is a secret. I was in another workshop in where there were a lot of foreign universities present in Prague. Every single person is saying the same thing. But I think they're so used, I mean, they can see through the whole business. And so that is what we tell our children, for goodness sake, don't do all these foolish things, because you will be the ones who suffer finally. You write your own essays. You should not be farming these out to others, because the kind of money that they take, I think it's about 3 lakhs,
Yes.
per student.
Yeah, it's
make
about 3
huge
lakhs
money.
plus. Yes, ma'am.
Huge money.
And as Manika ma'am said, is very good, like earlier slide, the peers have to work together. Physics teachers might not be good in English, and hence that is the best way to go. Yeah.
Schools can come up with their own ideas with your management. I mean, no teacher. honestly, teachers have a lot on their plate. And if you're going to tell them that now for these 30 children, you're responsible to support your colleague, I'm not sure how well it'll go now. So schools have to find out their own ways to motivate those people. What is it that you're going to do, for my motivation, if I'm going to do that? So, you have to find ways to say, okay, sometimes we say it with books, sometimes we do a nice dinner, sometimes we give a nice Fab India coupon. I mean, there are ways and ways of how you motivate the rest of the people. It doesn't always have to be with money. It can be a really nice dinner. It can, I mean, anything. You can do so many, motivational things, but you need to put a team together. It can't happen with one. And never ever do we outsource. I didn't know the cost also, because I'm not sure if it's rampant in Delhi. I'm sure it is, but universities are smart, we know when it's been tutored and written by somebody else. They know their
Actually,
children.
yes, ma'am. We had one of the universities very kindly did a session for students for essay writing. They spent about 3 hours, full 3 hours, telling our children how to do the write essays, what they have to think, how do they have to plan, how do they have to put, what universities like. They actually made them write an essay in the session in that period of time. It was an amazing experience for students. Again and again said these university delegates are pretty helpful by reaching by mail, and we have used that source to fill potential with minimal cost. They've been so helpful, and they offered so many suggestions, help, and these kind of, getting people to do the work with us, which I'm sure even the other agency people couldn't manage, getting a qualified individual to come and do an essay writing sessions for the students, just counselors, your job is to keep networking. Yeah.